Hello, everyone. We're getting ready for the talk with Ben0xa here. Ben is a Vice President of Information Systems and Security Officer for a medical billing company in Illinois. He has over 12 years of experience doing application and web development, security implementation, consulting, and training. He spoke at B-Sides, Chicago, Detroit, Cross City, and works with the POSSEC development team. Give it up for Ben0xa.
Test, test, test. Am I on? Is this good? Can you guys hear me back there? All right, good. You know, because everyone in InfoSec decides that they're going to fill up the back rows first, so want to make sure you guys can hear me in the back. Welcome to the Call-Up community, Modern Warfare. Thank you to the developers of Call-Up community for letting me steal their image and make it my own. Okay, so this is not a lie. I do have over 13 years of experience. Now, a lot of you look at me, and or you hear me, and you look and you're like, what parent let their kid come to ShowMeCon? So my mom is out in the lobby, so she's waiting for me to take me to daycare after we're done with this. I look really young. I'm a lot older than what I appear, and it makes it really difficult being an executive and a vice president when you go to a meeting, and the CEO, she's a woman, and she goes to check us in, and the receptionist, she's a nice lady, and she's sitting there checking us all in, and she looks at me, and she's like, "Did you bring your son?" Yeah. So it makes it really difficult being an executive looking like this. But once people start hearing and start talking to me, they get a different perception. So I am a vice president. I've been with this company for a very long time, and I do developing. I started developing when I was 12 years old, so a lot of people say last year. And one of the first games I ever wrote was a 2D side-scroller, and it was really awesome. And you would push a spacebar and destroy the little guy. This was back in '96, so it was really cool. And my friend and I were like, well, this is fun, but let's make it a little bit more interesting. And so what we did is, because the professor had to test the game, is we built in code that every time you defeated a monster, it would randomly delete one of your files. The professor didn't get to level 4. From the very early on, I've been writing programs, and so now I've done a lot of things with developing, and I want to share that with you guys today. I also do security consulting and training. Some of you guys might have seen my security awareness stuff that I did at DerbyCon a few years ago. So it is hard being young when you're like this, and no one takes you seriously. It's also interesting, if you're a vendor, don't judge somebody. I have buying power, and a lot of vendors don't take that seriously. They look at me and they're like, someone let you come here. Well, I actually am the one that has buying power. So, as an encouragement, don't judge somebody by the way they look. And that only goes for somebody who's young and small, but also for somebody who's not male or not white. Don't judge a person just based on what they look like. Judge them on what they say and what they do. That's the Hacker's Manifesto, right? So make sure you guys don't judge other people. So big thanks to Jason Street. He actually ran out, but I would not be speaking at conventions if it wasn't for Jason Street. And I have my family here, so big thanks to ShowMeCon for allowing us to all come down together. And my kids met Jason Street yesterday, and I've learned that my kids can sense danger because they immediately attacked him with balloons. So before I get started, a huge thanks to all of the websites that we ripped off for this deck. I have a full attribution at the end of my deck. So if you look at that and you're like, oh, you didn't attribute this slide, it's at the end. There's like 60 of them. So I know I say R, and I know I'm the only one here. Matt Johnson and I created this talk together. And so Matt was not able to come down, so I'm doing this solo for my side. He's doing it solo for his side as well, and he said he was going to get on his knees to keep the perspective when he did my part. Jerk. So why us? Why did we do this? Why this talk? Well, first and foremost, we're geeks. We have been geeks since we've been little kids, and we love games. We're big-time gamers. We would sit and just talk about all the games we used to play. And I'm an old-school MUD player. Any MUD players in here? I mean, MUD. Seriously, yeah, like 3 of you. That's awesome. MUDs were amazing. I'm sorry. I love the text-based games, like the strategy. But most of all, we love this community. We love what this community is doing. This is both the security infrastructure, the hacking field, everything that goes along with it. We love it, and so we want more people to get excited about this. But most of all, we both wanted to be our heroes. Now, growing up, one of my favorite heroes was Kirby. One, he was short, just like me. He's pink, kind of like me. And the coolest ability that he ever had was that he would absorb the powers of anyone that he gobbled up. I thought that was the coolest thing. In any superhero genre or canon, I've always loved the superhero that has the ability to take other people's powers. Whether that was the Heroes series, the Peters that could take everyone else's ability, or even in the X-Men series when you had Rogue. I love that ability. Now, I will tell you as a pro tip that as a kid, trying to bite your teacher and absorb them because you got upset with them is not a wise idea. They send you to counseling. So Matt Johnson, he wanted to be Chun-Li. I showed that picture with his wife in the audience. So I have Matt in my deck several times. So please feel free to take pictures and tweet it out. I'll make sure that you have his Twitter handle because he loves that picture. So what is this called? What is the Call of Community Modern Warfare? Modern warfare, we're dealing with it on a global scale. We have attacks coming in from all different avenues. We have people, media, blowing things out of proportion. You know, we have Heartbleed. We have other thing that goes on. And everyone is running around with their hair on fire trying to figure out how they can do this. And oftentimes, you're stuck there going, I'm waiting for the vendor to patch. Or I'm waiting for Microsoft to patch. There's really not much we can do. And some of you have access to huge amounts of budget. You can go out and you have the buying power. But let me tell you something. It's about 90% of the breaches that you've got going on are not the big organizations. They're not. It's the small companies with the low to no budgets. It's the IT guy or sysadmin turned security guy. And he's going there going, I don't know what to do. I don't have $500,000 to invest in a SIM. I don't know what to do. And so Matt and I, when we teamed up, we realized that we need more community involvement. And it doesn't necessarily mean developers or programmers or people with cool new projects or utilities to use. We need people to use them, to become a part of it, to be active, to contribute their ideas and their experiences. To say, yes, that's a good idea. Or to say, no, that's not really a great idea. Here's my experience. You have more to contribute to this community than you realize. You do. You don't have to be an awesome hacker. I don't consider myself a hacker. I consider myself just a geek who loves technology and wants to help people out. You have more to contribute than you realize. And Matt and I, we have developed a few things that we want you guys to utilize, but we also want to encourage you to join up with something. Get excited about it. That's our hope and dream. We want you guys to be active. Because when this community starts giving back, and giving back ideas, and sharing what the experiences that they have, then this community is only going to get stronger. And that means the security landscape is only going to be better. And we're not going to be dealing with 90% of these businesses having the breaches that they do. I mean, the DBIR was a little bit better this year, but it was still horrible. It was still abysmal. We haven't gotten any better. You guys have experiences that I'll never have. Now, I've been in an organization for the past almost 14 years now. But I've only had that experience. I only know healthcare. I don't know financial. I have no idea why banks ask you to install Trusteer. It doesn't make any sense to me. You guys do. You guys have access to resources and people that I will never be able to touch. And yet, the information that you have could very well help me or another group project, which could help somebody else who has low to no budget. You know, that's the whole idea about networking, right? Is who you know. When you start contributing back to these projects, that's when things help. That's when this community begins to become better. So I'm going to talk about a few projects that are out there. Near and dear to my heart is POSHSEC and POSHSEC Framework. POSHSEC is short for PowerShell Security. And so we will be talking about some PowerShell today. I am the Cavalry. A lot of you guys have heard about that. That's a lot of the biohacking, automobile hacking, home hacking that goes on with that. And one, probably no one else has probably heard about, is the Strategic Defense Execution Standard. Most of you have heard about the Penetration Testers Execution Standard, or PTES. There's a group of us that are working on the defensive side. And guess what? We need help. So let me tell you a little bit about POSH-sec. So POSH-sec is a framework that's designed around PowerShell that allows you to maintain and monitor your entire domain and the systems that are on that and making sure that they comply to the SANS Top 20 controls. The whole idea is that it was developed by a guy by the name of Will Steele and Matt Johnson. Now, Will had this desire a long time ago that PowerShell was becoming more and more prevalent, and he wanted to do something to help people out. And Matt Johnson teamed up with him. Now, Will was fighting cancer at the time. Will lost that battle 2 years ago. He still had a hope and desire to make businesses better by what he did. And so Matt continued on, and he carried that flag. And so now, POSH-sec consists of the PowerShell modules that you have and the POSH-sec framework, which I'll show you guys a little bit about. So Matt came back and he's like, you know what? I need a team. I need a team of people that are going to make this better because you can't do it alone. Matt knew that. And so he went out and he got Wolfgang Gorlick, Nick Jacob, Rich Casara, and Michael Ortega. That started the basis for that team. They were all seasoned InfoSec people, brilliant people, and he just didn't want them to call him Chun-Li. And so he said, welcome aboard. So now here's what our focus is going to be. SANS Top 20 controls. We're going to make sure that we work on server hardening, forensics, many different areas, so that way people have a tool that they can use to make sure that their systems are in compliance and that the security posture is hardened. So some of those different things are, like, first of all, is account management. Knowing if you've got a user that all of a sudden doesn't have their password expiration date set. Why is there a username on our Active Directory, on our domain, that doesn't have a password expiration date? Is anyone keeping track of that now? Maybe there's a vendor product that can do that. How many of you guys are auditing it? Where's your baseline? Do you even have a baseline of your AD? Do you have a baseline of what goes on your accounts? Do you know which accounts are set to expire? Which ones are not? Which ones are past their expiration dates? Which ones are stale? So you can imagine the possibilities that can go along with this. Then you've got log management. And let me tell you, I love logs. Logs are sexy. This is your IDS, your 2IS, whatever the case may be. I love logs. Logs are actually very sexy. Some people are very afraid of logs, but I think logs are sexy. I love being able to see what's going on with that. You can also do network baselining. So this is like several baselining scripts. See what ports are open on your systems. See if you've got, when you've got Windows Firewall, configured to the SANS recommended settings. Yes, you can do GPO to do all of that. And you know, what about the devices that don't come in very often, that maybe have cache credentials, whatever the case may be? POSH-sec is designed so that you can overcome that. Now, POSH-sec was just recently released at B-Side Chicago this past week. And we've got a team of developers, about 12 different people working on this. And it's everything from forensics to event management to reverse engineering malware. We've got people that are specifically designed, and they're pushing to this daily. In fact, they just updated this morning. So you can look at that on GitHub, and that's POSH-sec. So this talk is not specifically around POSH-sec, so we kind of burned through that real quick. But I want to talk to you about what my idea was. Early 2013, I realized that there were not a lot of open source SIMs. And I'm like, I want something that would be great to utilize at other companies, because I don't have $500,000 for a SIM. I just don't. And a lot of people don't. But I needed something. I needed something that was more than what was just on my network. And so I said, you know what? I've been developing a long time. I'm going to go ahead and create this on my own. And so I was going to bake everything in, and I was going to write it. And I knew it was going to take a very long time to do. And so I said, you know what? I'll just start. And so in early 2013, I began working on this. And I knew it was going to be a long time before I had it, but I was like, you know what? I might as well start somewhere. So I was like, yay, I'll do this, and yay, it's my first open source project, woohoo! And it didn't go anywhere. So I went to B-Side Detroit, and that's where I met Matt Johnson. And he gave a talk on POSH-sec security. I'm leaving that up there for a long time. He gave a talk about PowerShell security and POSH-sec. And I said, hey, man, I want to be a part of what you guys are doing, and I have a great idea. The idea that I have is, instead of me baking everything in, is what if I just create an interface that utilizes what you guys are doing? And so I went up to Matt and I said, will you be my player too? I showed that slide in B-Side Chicago, and his wife was in the audience. So it was really awkward. Matt said yes, and so that was also very awkward. So Matt said yes, and so we married the two projects, and we came up with the Prospect framework. Now, it's a Windows-based tool. Now, I know there's a lot of Linux people, but what if I told you that not every sysadmin prefers Linux? I know. Sorry. I know. Thanks for the 5 people that just walked out. But not everyone does. Not everyone likes Linux. Not everyone prefers Linux, right? Yes, they may have it, but typically they're Windows environments. So why do I have to roll an entire ISO or an entire distro to get your tool to work when I'm basically Windows environment? Well, now I've got to have this VM that I didn't have before. Now I've got to make sure I maintain that. And yes, I know a little bit about Linux, but I really don't know how to harden Linux. I'm decently good at hardening Windows because that's what my life is. So I wanted this to be a Windows tool. And eventually we'll do some sort of port, but for now, it's a Windows tool. Now remember, one of my favorite heroes is Kirby. So the whole idea about Prospect Framework is that what you get is just the beginning. It can absorb the powers from other people's PowerShell modules. And that's where the power comes in. You can turn it into any type of tool you want, whether that's system administration, defense, offense, vulnerability analysis, or even forensics. You can put it in that mode. The only thing I've done is giving you a nice interface to do that. So, like for the Green Ninja, and I'm just making these terms up, so it's not really green, blue, whatever. So it's system administration. You get basic networking functions. Scanning your network, scanning your tree, exporting that. One of the coolest things I've done with this tool is cleaned up dirty Active Directory domains. I bet you there are a lot of people out there with some stale records in their AD, and they really don't realize it. How many people have audited those records? So here is kind of like a little video showing the interface. And all I'm doing is I'm scanning my /24 on my on one of the connections that I set to, and I think this is at my home network, so you guys know my internal MAC address, so yay. So that's it. I mean, it's just a basic Windows interface, but yet there's so much more here. You can take those and export them and use them as an asset in Nessus or Nexpose or you dump into Excel if you really wanted to. And it's all right there. So you've got it as a system administration tool. I use this for patch management as well. So yay, scan all the things, hooray! But you can also make it into a blue team. Now, understand I'm blue team, so we're going to park here for just a little bit. Sorry, red team, but we're parking here for just a little bit because blue team needs some love. You can do live port monitoring. One of the first things that I wrote was a way that I could monitor open and closing of ports on a remote system without installing anything. No thin client, no service, nothing. Because in the event that I see something wrong with the box, I want to watch everything that connects, opens, and closes. And it may not be at the endpoint, right? Because it may be accessing an internal resource, which is bypassing your proxy, which is bypassing anything else. Now, it could very well be hitting your VLAN switch, and you could do it there. But what happens if you're on a flat network? Or they're both on the same VLAN? So I wanted something to do live port monitoring. Live file analysis. So here's my script that I wrote. It's just a PowerShell script. And I'm going to basically monitor all of the ports that are open and closed. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a simple Nmap scan. I'm not even going to attack my box. I'm not going to attack it. I'm just going to do an Nmap scan. Now, does anyone know what services responds to an Nmap scan? I didn't. Guess what? I found out. And this is all done through PowerShell. I've just given you a nice clicky interface so that you can do this. And I've got an alert tab here at the bottom. And so as the scan is happening, you're going to start to see alerts pile up there in the bottom as ports open and close. And so basically what I've done is turn this into a SIM, sort of. And see, there's all the ports. Hey, these ports have been opened. And it'll also show you which ones have closed. This will link directly with your syslog server as well. So now you could basically utilize this as an attack defense or whatever, and have it linked directly to your syslog. And it's all click and point, or point and click. You don't even have to worry about being PowerShell guys. You know, you just double click on the thing and there it goes. Do you guys remember the Word RTF vulnerability that was released again? the RTF vulnerability earlier this year. It was actually the same RTF vulnerability that they had a few years ago. It's just an updated version. So it's the same one. And it was a 0-day. Well, guess what? I used this to patch all my systems immediately. I didn't use GPO. I didn't have to roll anything out. I just wrote a script real quick and pushed it out to my entire domain. Boom. Done. IE 0-day. I will always remember CVE 2014-1776 because, you know, America. But I wrote a PowerShell script exactly for that. I posted it immediately online because I wanted to help out the community and say, hey, go unregister vgx.dll, and here's an easy way to do it. How many of you guys have heard of OneGet? Anyone? OneGet? Chocolatey? These are application repositories, things like apt-get for Windows. Well, PowerShell 5.0, Microsoft liked OneGet so much that they baked it in. And so now you can do application baselining. What version of Adobe do they have installed? What version of PDF or of Putty do they have installed? Well, if it's below this version, go patch it. You know, one of the things is everyone focuses on patching Windows, but they don't necessarily patch the third-party tools. Do you realize that every month that I patch 10 to 15 third-party tools every month? I use a program called Ninite. Ninite is an amazing tool, similar to what OneGet and Chocolatey are doing. It's to patch those third-party tools. Ninite. It will be your best tool. It's $150 a year for enterprise. $150, folks. It's seriously amazing. So I'm going to show you a demo here about the OWASP Zetattack proxy and how I can use that on my system. So give me just a sec. Change my screen. Is that where to go? Does anyone know Windows? There you go. All right, so here we have the POSHTEC framework. And so here I have my monitor file script right here. And if we look at the script, you can see it's just PowerShell. And so I've got everything in there. I've got, you know, a bunch of comments up here telling me what it's doing. And basically what it's doing is just looking to see if there's any type of changes to the file, if there's an error, whatever the case may be. And the whole idea is I use this for a capture the flag event. So that way I could monitor the application and see if anyone was deciding that they wanted to attack it. So I wanted to monitor my Apache log. But I wanted to do it in a nice GUI interface. So I wrote this PowerShell script. And so now in this, all I have to do is double click it. Now, if anyone used PowerShell, one of the things that bothers me is remembering all the command line switches that go with it. Is it hyphen file name? Is it hyphen F name? You know, everyone comes up with their own little way, so then you got to open up the help, look at the whole frequency. Yeah, forget it. So this pops up whenever there's a PowerShell script, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And if there's a file name, you don't have to type the whole file name. You can actually just click and browse to it. So now you don't even have to type the file name. So now I'll choose Run, and you can see that here's a PowerShell script running in the background. And I can run multiple things, and even in fact, while that one's running, I can still run a PowerShell command right here. So now I've got a PowerShell script running in the background. So now let's go ahead and attack this box. My super secret password is Tor. Don't tell anybody. So here, we're going to tap apt.local. And so here our attack goes off. And so basically it creates this nice little tab. And again, this is linked up to my syslog. So there you can see that the attack is coming in. And it's a nice interface. And guess what? That's all PowerShell. That's it. It's all PowerShell. And you don't even have to know what it, you know, you don't even have to understand how it's doing it. But now I've got an intrusion detection system on my Apache log. So you can, one of the things that someone told me was that, well, that was nice for the defense side, but what can you use it for nefarious reasons? And I was like, okay, well, let's come up with something nefarious. By the way, PowerShell does not have Control-L. So like if you come over here and hit Control-L, that pisses me off, okay? So in this, if you Control-L, it clears the screen. There you go for the Linux guys. Yay! So 2 people that actually use it in the room. So one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted a kill switch. And in the event that I can't get to a box, it's on the weekend, it's on Sunday, my guys can't get in fast enough, but all of a sudden I realize that a box is doing something it shouldn't be doing. And I'm going to upgrade this a little bit to basically poison the ARP table for this. But I wanted to basically go through and disable every NIC on that box. So I created a module called the Kraken. And using the Windows PowerShell verbiage, I have one called Unlock the Kraken. And so basically, if we look here, here's all my network interfacing devices. And I'll go ahead and enable this, even though I don't have a cable connected. So you can see that, I've got my virtual box there connected. I've got my Ethernet and everything else like that. So if I come over here and I can just basically say, unlock the Kraken on APT10. And so now we'll come over here. And you can point this at any computer on your network that you want. And there you go. Now, you're like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, if I point that at your entire domain, that means one poor sap has to walk around to every freaking computer on your domain and re-enable those network devices. I've just land-DOSed you. How'd you like to be the on-call guy for that? Jim, we're going to need you to come in. Yeah, because there's no remote commands you can do on that now. So there's my nefarious reasons that you can also use for good reasons as well. So let's move back to my screen. And by the way, I don't care what they say. I like Windows 8. Go back to that slide. So, yes, I've spent a lot of time on blue team, but you know what? I'm blue team, so suck it, red team. I spent a lot of time on blue team, but blue team needs a lot of help. There's a lot of people out on blue team that are desperately waiting for something. When a malware or 0-day is released, how quickly do they get it in Metasploit? How quickly do they have a proof of concept ready to go? Some of that is because they've had some time to talk with the vendors to get that release out there before they make it public, but a lot of times they don't. And so what we're hoping for is in POSHSEC and PowerShell is that we can also be the same ones rolling out that fix at the same rate and the same speed. But we need your help. It can't just be us. So you can use this for offensive stuff. So if you saw Chris's talk yesterday, he was talking more about PowerShell or PowerSploit and a lot of things they were doing. And a lot of people were like, I don't want to use PowerShell for the red team engagements. You know what? Yeah, that's great. You've owned my box, but now there's no Python on there. My IDS and my AV are already detecting your PE headers. So now now what do you do? PowerShell's already there, folks. It's standard. Why are you trying to create all these things? Well, now you're going to download Python onto my box? I'm whitelist outbound only, buddy. What are you going to do now? PowerShell's already there. It can be used as an offensive tool. Don't underestimate it. It's baked in. Why would you guys make it harder on yourselves? It's a Windows environment. So you can take PowerSploit and put it right in the POSHSEC framework. So even if you don't want to use that, you can import it. I have GitHub directly linked in there, so you don't even have to worry about going to GitHub. You just put their URL, and it puts the module right in there for you, so you don't even have to worry about it. ObscureSec said yesterday, if you own a box, you still need to download a third-party tool. He talked about this yesterday, right here. Why would you do that? It's already there. And I'm not a red teamer. He is. And I know I said suck it, red team, but he sat down with me, and we went over this stuff, and we're on the same page. I'm still going to shoot him if I see him, but, we're still on the same page. Then you can change it to different mode. You can go into your vulnerability assessment. Carlos Perez, Dark Operator, he's created POSHSecMod. It's directly linked with Nessus. Well, now you have a utility to import all of your assets in there. And you can shell those commands directly out to it. I'm pointing to it, but it's not on the screen. See? So you've got it directly in there. Understand that POSHSEC framework absorbs the powers from other people. There are so many different community people out there that are developing amazing things with PowerShell. Don't underestimate it. It's very powerful. And these guys work on this all the time. White Ninja stuff, forensics. Man, I've been talking to a lot of forensics people. And there's a lot more stuff that's happening with the forensic side on the POSHSEC team. We don't have anything ready yet. But they're working there. In fact, they just updated it this morning. So talk a little bit more about the features. I have exposed the interface elements. Obviously, I'm not going to spend all my time talking about all the things that you can do in this framework, but let me tell you, I've made it easy. And that was my goal. I still kept the command line for the CLI guys, but I wanted it to be to where I really don't know how to use this, but you know what? I know how to click and point. Well, great. That's exactly what I want you to do. And here, now you can use the resources from our entire team, and you don't have to know a line of PowerShell code. You just have to double-click. So as you can see, Matt even updated the PowerSploit module. So the moment that you open up POSSEC Framework, it goes out to GitHub and sees if there's an update. So you don't have to worry about updating your branch. It's going to do it for you. So the moment that you're watching a repository, it's going to take care of you. So I did that already. So this is the fear that I've gotten from a lot of people when I've shown them this. They're like, yeah, it's nice. Just not sure I want to be able to use it. Put it in a test environment then, seriously. You know, give it a try, see what's going on. So you can get POSSEC Framework under the same URL. If you just go to github.com/POSSEC, you'll see all of our repositories there, and then you can work on it. So before I get on to my next things, I want to point out, these are the current developers. MWJ Computing is Matt, and by the way, that's Matt, just so you know. Okay, so MWJ Computing, that's Matt. Okay, so Matt. So MWJ Computing, Wolfgang Gorlick, Security Mort Prime, Rich Cassara, Security San, and you can also follow us on POSSEC as well. We're big on the Twitters, so if you don't have one, get one. And by the way, this is Matt. So I wanted to talk to you about I Am the Cavalry. Has anyone heard about this yet? I don't like doing polls, but has anyone heard? So it's starting to build momentum, and some people are not with it. Some people don't like it. I don't understand why, but what they're doing is they're focusing on like home hacking, medical devices, automobiles. Their whole idea is that they want to find out where security intersects human life, because people can die, right? We're not just talking about data loss at this point. You know, I have a friend who's got the wearable insulin pump, or the implanted, what are they called? They're not defibrillators, are they? Pacemakers, yeah. And they're embedded inside of them. And there was a talk, I think it was a TED Talk, where a woman talked about how she wasn't able to get access to the source code to this thing. Well, lo and behold, there was a vulnerability in it, because the doctors would use a remote tool to see how her heart was doing. Well, guess what? She was able to man in the middle of that. And it's supposed to be able to send an electrical pulse to your heart. Well, guess what? She was able to trigger that. Now, does anyone see the problem with that? And so I Am the Cavalry, their whole point is that we can't stop, we have to stop waiting for the cavalry to arrive. We have to be the cavalry. So they're focusing on medical devices, automobiles, home electronics, public infrastructure, SCADA systems. Those types of situations. They need people who can do content management, project management, administrative assistance, technical systems assistance, or sponsorship. That's the other thing, too, is that sometimes sponsoring a project really works out, too. You may not be able to be the developer. You may not be able to be the coder. You may not even have the ability to test this out, but doggone it, you can sponsor it. You can follow I Am the Cavalry at this place on iamthecavalry.org. I always want to say Calvary. I don't know why. I Am the Cavalry. I do have some stickers if you guys want some. And then you get to be Courage Wolf. Don't be afraid to do this. Matt Johnson is. So the Strategic Defense he hates me, by the way. Strategic Defense Execution Standard. This is something that most people haven't even heard about. This is an idea for creating a step-by-step example in the same way that the penetration testers have when they're going on an engagement to make sure that they've got everything set up. You've got some of the greatest minds, and I'm not including myself in that. I'm just the one that helped with some of the formatting. But you've got some of the greatest minds working on this to try and come up with a way that people can utilize and reference to come up and set up a defensive structure and the security posture of an organization. And you guys very well may have everything together, and that's great. That's awesome. 90% of the organizations don't. And that's where your experience can come in and help those organizations out. The whole idea is that they're supposed to be able to help and identify where attacks are likely to come from, where they go, and what the impact of that is going to be on your organization. That's the idea here. With the final goal is to implement a defense to allow you to maintain an acceptable information security posture. Their focusing is on a lot. Organizational risk tolerance, IT basics, critical asset planning, threat scoping, strategic network mapping, attack vector identification, attack path identification, defense planning, defense testing, attack detection, and response. There's a lot there. And guess what? We don't have it all. We don't. We don't have all the pieces that we need to get this project off the ground. And as like a lot of projects that I've been a part of, we're all busy. We all have projects. We all have deadlines that we have to do. I'm a vice president. I'm a VP, but I don't work anymore. Like, my fingers start to tingle when I do physical work now. I have to lay down for a few minutes and drink coffee. So when my guys get busy, you know, they obviously, they don't have time to work on this. But we need other people's help. We need people to give input. That's the idea. These are the current contributors that we have on there. You know, you have James Arlen, Mercurial, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm just going to say I'm it. Zate, Gabe Bassett, and myself. And we're trying to get something together, but we need your help. So maybe you're not a developer. Maybe you can contribute to this. Hey, here's a great idea. Here's the way we defend. Matt Johnson's not part of this. So if you guys want information on that, you can go to Doing InfoSec Right. I know that's a long title, but we don't have anything short right now. But if you want to help contribute, it's help@doinginfosec-right. So I've given you kind of a brief overview of all of the different projects that I'm currently closely related with right now. So, you know, where do you fit in? How can you fit into this? Giving feedback is the best thing that you can do. You all have time for it. Come on, don't give me this crap I'm too busy. Bull crap. I know everyone's busy. I'm busy too. But this community is not going to get any better if you can't give at least some feedback. Yeah, I like what you're doing. I think that's amazing. How can I help? Join the list. Join in the conversation. You have more to contribute to this community than you realize. Don't underestimate your experience. You have experiences that not everyone else may have. You can interact with environments that other people can't. Contribute. Give that information back. You know, I was talking with Raf, you know, he does Cobalt Strike. And I was talking with you, I'm like, how does it feel when you actually get somebody that gives you feedback? And I don't know if I can do the Mazarisms, but he was like, that's awesome. Was that good? I have to move more, maybe? I'm the mini-me. Another short joke. There's no shortage of those. It's all about the heights, right? It's exciting. Email me. Tell me that my project sucks. But tell me why. Email SDS. You got it all wrong. Here's why. Contribute. Become a part of the community. Everyone in this room has the ability to make this community better and stronger by contributing. Don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to come up with the next greatest tool. You don't have to come up with the next greatest idea. There are several of them out there, and we're desperately waiting for someone to give us some information back. I've shown my tool to several different people, and I've gotten the, that's cool. Yeah, I don't want to hurt your feelings. Don't blow smoke up my butt. If you don't like it, if you don't think it's going to work, tell me why. I'm not going to have the same experiences that you guys are. If you don't like SDS, tell us why. Or if you have an idea, contribute to it. And if you are a developer, I want to talk to you because we need help. There's a lot of stuff that we have to do. And this idea can grow if you're a part of it. And it doesn't have to be one of these projects. You know, how many tools do you guys see that are released at these things? You don't even use them. You know, I was told that when Dave Kennedy released SET, there was a lot of communication and talk about how great and awesome it was. But there was a bug in the code that prevented it from even working. People weren't even using it. Use it. See if it's even good, and then give that feedback. Don't just watch and observe from the sidelines. I know that we're all introverted, but we as a community are not going to get any better with you guys on the sidelines. We need you as a part of this team. And that's what Matt and I are trying to do. We're trying to get you guys excited to realize that you can be a vital part of everything that's going on in this community. Now, I know that I'm in between you and beer time, so I brought beer. So, this idea is only as strong as this community. It's time to stand together as a team. And because I've abused every other gaming reference, I figured I would do this. The more we work as a team, the stronger this community will become. I have that desire. And maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my hopes and dreams, and Matt's hopes and dreams, and Will's hopes and dreams are far beyond this community. And that's fine. But come up and tell me. Tell me why I'm reaching too high. Tell me why we as a community, with some of the most incredibly intelligent people that I have ever had the honor of meeting, can't work together to make this better. Why are we always relying upon somebody else or some big organization or some big company to get lots and lots of money? Why aren't we helping each other as ourselves? You know, Evan during his talk yesterday talked about using the same inspiration that we all had as kids when we saw something and we wanted to make it better or we wanted to take it apart. Why did we lose that? Now, I know I look like a kid and I'm still darn well going to act like one. And I want that desire and that passion to remain. And I'm hoping that you guys get that too. So, I have beer here. I want some dialogue. This is how you can get a hold of me. I'm Ben0xa. It's not Ben0xa. It's hexadecimal for 10. Okay? It's amazing how many people follow Ben10 and they think that I'm the Cartoon Network character. I'm like, it's not even 10, you know? So, yeah, so you could get me at all of these different places. This is how you can get a hold of Matt. I posted my slides up on SlideShare. Now, I have beer. I only want you to give me a comment or a question, and you get a beer. So, questions? Yes? So, okay, so the question was, does POSHSEC check the scripts that are there? Yes, it does. Well, one of the things that we worried about is that if people are going to be utilizing the scripts and the modules that we have to have some file integrity. So PowerShell builds that in directly to where you can actually build in the assigned control for that as well. Yes. So come get your beer. I can't run to everyone. Yes. We have not had that connection. So if you have that ability to put us in contact with who that person or just to give me that information. I'm sorry, the question was, do we have we worked with the what? FFRDC? Yeah, so we haven't, but I would love to have that introduction. So if you know more about that, then I would be great. So if you can come grab your beer. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes. Sure. No, and so the comment is that part of the reason that some of these things have been done before, but one of the drawbacks has been legal, and that's a very valid point. You can come grab this, by the way. Oh, well, please, I have 12 of them. I'm gonna get drunk. Oh, by the way, you don't open them, and if you have, I'm sorry, I should have said this before. The Missouri Gaming Commission doesn't want us drinking it in here, so So they allowed me to pass it out, and we got that passed, but don't drink it until you get up to your hotel room or something like that. So the legal thing is a big problem, right? Everyone's afraid. That's why I put the burning house picture in there. But the thing about it is that even if you have the legal team, you can still put it into a test environment, see what's out, and give that feedback back. Because there are a lot of other organizations who don't even have a freaking legal team that are desperately trying to secure their network, and they're failing because they're still getting breached. And I don't know about you, but I would rather give them a tool and worry about the legal about implementing the tool than dealing with the breach notification. Anyone else? Oh, come on, I've got like 9 more of these things. No, they're really good, but I want to share it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can have a beer. Come on up. All right, so I've got 7 more beers, so if the first 7 people get it. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.